Paul Manafort is now out of the Trump campaign. Your reaction?
It's a huge development, and it comes on the heels not just of the shakeup, but of a string of really kind of devastating stories. 3 big stories on the front pages of the national newspapers today: the Washington Post, the New York Times, the Associated Press, all discovering new information that shows Manafort more closely tied to Ukrainian leaders who are connected to Vladimir Putin than he had acknowledged. In fact, undercutting some of the denials he had made earlier in the week. So Manafort's position had increasingly become untenable. The Trump campaign, others in the campaign, feeling that he was increasingly becoming a distraction. And obviously, he was frustrated to be sort of sidelined earlier this week by both Kellyanne and Steve Bannon.
Yeah. I mean, the Ukrainian ties, I think, are interesting to people who watch the background of the political scene and who also think about the comments that have been made about Vladimir Putin in the context of this whole campaign. But maybe more important than anything, that is able to be used now as a vehicle to nudge him out because the numbers have not been good and they want to make a change, right?
Absolutely. And so I think it all sort of, it's a good convergence. You know, if he had been gone a couple days ago, I think a lot of the stories that are on the front pages of the newspapers today, you know, wouldn't be relevant, you know, because it would no longer be Trump's campaign chairman who's doing this. And that is one of the things is usually when you have these kinds of shakeups on any campaign, you know, and this always happens, they don't get rid of people. They just kind of give them new titles or, you know, keep them on in name only. And one of the things that's been unique about Trump is, you know, he fired Corey Lewandowski. He didn't layer Corey Lewandowski over with someone else and, you know, make them the, you know, so give them some new title and keep Corey around.
But I
do think that that's unique about Trump.
But don't you wonder, I mean, when you say that, of course, it just conjures all these images of The Apprentice and you know, the you're fired thing. But what's also interesting there is that from what we understand, the Lewandowski relationship is very much intact. And I have to wonder if with Paul Manafort out, Lewandowski begins to play a bigger role, perhaps in his home state of New Hampshire.
I think we absolutely can expect that. We know that Lewandowski is still talking by phone with Trump. We know that for a fact, and our reporting supports that. And it also is true that earlier this week, as you know, Kellyanne and Steve kind of took over the campaign, they were preaching to Trump what Lewandowski had preached during the primaries, which is let Trump, be yourself, you know, be willing to pick fights. Last night was sort of interesting because the reading from a teleprompter, as John was talking about, doesn't really fit with the let Trump be Trump ethos. But I think in general, these two guys got in his good graces by talking exactly like Corey was talking for the 6 months when Trump was leading in the polls and winning Republican primaries.